Good evening and welcome to the Folens Homework Space webinar for teachers. Absolutely delighted to see so many of you here this evening. My name is Lizzie Gibbon and I'm the Field Sales Manager here in Folens. And joining me on the panel this evening, I have Conor Walker, who is our Head of Post-Primary Publishing. Conor is this evening going to give you an overview of Homework Space, how it can really help you as a teacher, your students and overall your school. And he'll give you, a bit of a look at how the program is structured, how the subjects are structured, and then Ciara MacNamara, who's also on the panel here this evening, is going to really delve into the program, and she's our head of digital learning platforms. She's going to really delve into the platform with you and show the experience from the perspective of the teachers, the experience from the perspective of the students, and just give you a really good idea of how the platform works and what it looks like. At the end of all of that, we'll have a question and answer session as well. So please feel free as you go through the webinar, do feel free to put any questions that you have in the chat box, which is available to you. And we'll try and get to as many of those questions as we can at the end of the webinar. I'd say we'll be here 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes maybe, and hope you're looking forward to this evening. So I'm going to hand over now to Conor, who's going to take you through from his perspective. Thanks.
Thanks, Lizzie. Thanks, Lizzie. And hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us in this lovely evening. And I'm delighted that I'm going to have an opportunity to chat to you a little bit about Homework Space, which is a product we've been working on for quite some time, and we're really happy with how it's turned out. So I'll start by explaining what Homework Space is, I suppose. That's the best starting point. It's a new digital product that we're bringing out at Folens. It's curriculum aligned. It's made up of ready-made homework assignments. And the way that it works is that teachers, when they're set up in the system, they set the homework for their students. The students then go into the system, they answer and submit their homework, and then the system itself will automatically mark each student's answers. And when that's done, and over a period of time, as results accumulate, teachers can review their students' results and track progress over time. And Homework Space is a product that can be used alongside any textbook. So it doesn't matter if you're using Folens or another educational publisher's book, or if you're not using any book at all, it's something that can be used independent of that. And we feel that Homework Space can help teachers in a number of ways. To begin with, obviously blended learning is something that schools are doing now. And Homework Space offers a way of approaching that consistently and allowing you to set your digital homework and marking it across a number of subjects at junior cycle. It's also an easy solution for tracking progress. So whether that's your class or a specific student, it offers an automatic solution for that. And hopefully with that, it'll save you some time. As a product, Homework Space is also something that's engaging. It's full of engaging content, and that should help to motivate your students and keep them interested. And it also helps students to practice and reinforce their learning. Now, there's a wide range of subjects available at the moment, and the focus is on junior cycle. So we've got maths higher level and ordinary level. We've also got the higher level and ordinary level Homework Space programs. We have the 3 MFL subjects, French, Spanish, and German. We've also got Homework Space for science, for geography, and for history. So next, what I'll do is I'm just going to go through a couple of examples and try to explain to you the product structure of Homework Space and how it's aligned to the curriculum. So in essence, Homework Space and the way that it's structured for all subjects is very similar to a textbook. Each Homework Space subject is made up of chapters, and we call them units. And then within each unit, there's a series of homework assignments on key skills or topics that the teacher will want to assign. Then at the end of a unit, it finishes with a final test, which is like the revision section at the end of a chapter. And I'll go through 2 examples, one for a content-driven subject like geography, and then I'll do one for languages after this. So if you look at this, this is Unit 3 from our Geography Homework Space. And the first 4 assignments, 3.1 through to 3.4, cover content. This is all new content, and usually will contain, each assignment will contain 8 questions in it. So the first one is on what are earthquakes. The second assignment is about its measurement in tsunami. The third is about the impacts of earthquakes, and 4 looks at mitigation and responding to earthquakes. Then at the end of that, the final test, 3.5, is a longer test which includes questions based on the previous assignments and acts as a means, I suppose, of testing the student and what they learned in that particular unit. And here's an example from German. And for all our language subjects in homework space, there's more of a language skills focus on it. So here you can see we've got 6 assignments. 6.1 is a vocabulary assignment based on this topic, or this chapter is based on pets. So we've got vocabulary 6.1, vocabulary 6.2, and 6.3 covers grammar, in particular verbs relating to this chapter or unit. Then we have a reading activity or assignment. Then there's more grammar at 6.5, and then we have a listening assignment 6.6. And similar to geography then, 6.7 is the final test where we test the content covered earlier on in the unit. And here now is an example just of how the entire program is structured for a subject like geography. So units 1 to 10, you can see here, unit title is in the left column, homework titles then are contained within it or are on the right in each table. And as you can see, most of the units are made up of 3 to 4 homework assignments, and all of them conclude in a final test. Volcanoes, for example, here you'll also see that the assignments 2.4 and 2.3, they cover the strand 2 related elements of volcanoes. So those kind of all the key material to cover volcanoes from the 2 strands is covered there, and the same happens for earthquakes and other aspects of physical geography. Then we have units 11 through to 20. As you can see, the structure is consistent, the same all the way through. We're moving into more kind of economic geography. Then chapter 21 through to 29 covers the latter stages of the course for junior cycle. And that's it from me.
Thanks very much, Conor. Thank you so much. That's absolutely fantastic. So that gives them a really good overview. So the best thing now really is for Ciara to delve into the platform and really show you what it looks like and what it feels like to be in the platform. And so I'm going to hand over now to Ciara. Hopefully she's got control now.
Yes, I do indeed. Thank you very much.
Great.
That is great. So you should be looking at the Folens website now. Okay, so as Lizzie introduced earlier on, I am the head of digital learning platforms at Folens, which essentially means that I am part of a team who help design and build the functionality for this product on our website. So what I'd like to do is just take you through some of the main tasks that you as teachers would actually do if you purchase this product, and then also just show you what the experience the students would have if they go in and do their homework. So I'm just going to log in here as a teacher, and I'm assuming a geography teacher identity today. And you can see here, I just landed straight into my library. For anyone who's using any of our other products, it'll just appear in the library alongside the other programs that you're using from Folens. So if I just click into the geography homework space product. Okay, so this loads straight in, and what I'm going to show you here, this is the structure of units that Conor was referencing. So each unit represents a topic, and you can see that goes from, structure of the earth, volcanoes, right through past to physical geography into like climate change and so on. And what you'll notice here is basically if I select an activity or an assignment in the left-hand side, it displays here in this right panel. And what this allows you to do basically is to see what questions are part of this activity. You can scroll through these before you assign them, just to make sure that you've covered the material with your students in class. And obviously the answers are provided here as well if you need a quick cheat for anything in during class. So to assign an activity to your students, you click on this button here in the top right hand corner. And this will take you to this form that we fill out to assign homework to students. So the first thing to do here is basically select what homework you want to assign. So I'm going to use the volcanoes example because this is the one I remember best from when I was in school myself. And I'm going to select the first one here, the formation and life cycle of volcanoes. If I wanted to, I could also select a number of activities. So I could decide to do a couple, or I could select the entire unit of work if I wanted, and that would it just marks all of the activities as ready to be assigned. However, just to keep things simple for the demo, I am only going to assign the one activity. Second step then is to choose who you are going to assign the activity to. So I'm going to select my class. So from here you can see these are all the classes that I'm teaching. I'm going to select my first year geography students, and that just pops in there. You can see that there are other options available here. So for example, if you wanted to assign this to an individual student, that's also a possibility. It's important to remember that the students can't actually access any of the content until you assign it to them, and nor can they see what you've assigned to anybody else in the class. So if you did want to assign to the whole class, and then if one student maybe didn't do so well, you wanted to reassign it to them, you can do that and no one else in the class would necessarily know about it. So it could be good for some differentiation as well. So then the final step here is to select, to tell your students basically when they need to submit the assignment for. So you can choose when you want to make it available. So I'm essentially going to make this available immediately so that we can go in as a student and see the activity. But if you wanted to, you could plan ahead, for the following week's lessons and assign the work. And what that would mean is that it wouldn't actually appear for the students until after the class in which you would cover that material. Then I'm going to set a due date. So I'm going to pop that in for Monday. And so here, basically, that's the time frame in which it will appear for the students and in which they have to complete the activity. Now, if you wanted to allow them to submit it late, or that they would have access to it beyond the 26th of April, you actually have that option here as well. So you could do that. Again, I'm just going to keep it simple, and I'm going to assign the activity. And I can see now that that's been sent to my students. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out of my teacher account. And I'm going to jump in and impersonate the student. So the first thing you'll notice when we jump into Abdul's account here is that the product has actually been assigned to him. So that appears in his library. And if he has registered for any other of Folens ebooks, they would also appear alongside it. I want to reiterate that you will still control the pace of learning. So if we click into this, for example, students will be able to see the overview, the table of contents here, and what's actually going to be covered in the course, but they're not actually able to access content. So you can see here, this is the activity I've just assigned, and they can open that activity and do it. But you can see that this other content here is locked, and they won't be able to access that unless you assign that to them. But this becomes handy later on, because once they've actually completed the activity, they can go back in here and look at their scores and look at how they performed in the activity. But What I want to focus on is actually the assignments and what the students will see when they first come into the platform. So they will jump straight into their assignment section, which is this section up here. So when they log in, if they have homework due, they are actually going to land on this page. And so they'll immediately see that they've got homework to do. And even if they navigate away from this page, if they go look for their ebooks or anything, you can see here that on their assignment section, they've got this notification, this little number 1 red alert, and that will basically remain in place until they've completed the homework. So even if they, they come out of this now today and they go back in tomorrow, this will still be here until they've actually done it. So they can't escape. They have to do it. And to start the activity, they basically just click on it, and it will launch for them. And so it just got some summary information about when it's due, how many questions they might expect before they get into it. Okay, so when students come into one of the assignments, there's a lot of information that's immediately available to them. So they can see straight away the number of questions they have to complete here along the left-hand side. They're also signposted, which question they're currently participating on, and they can see if they've got like how many attempts they have at the question. Basically, there's only one, and how many marks are available for each question as well. So if I just take you through how to do a test, so this diagram shows the parts of a volcano, which is part A. So I'm going to select the ash and cinder cloud. I remember this. So then I just click the check answer. And what's great here is that students get this immediate feedback, right? So the answer's gone green, so I know I've got it correct. And I'm just kind of reinforced with that message down at the bottom. So what Conor was talking about earlier, where we've got a number of homework assignments and then per unit, and then at the end of the test, we have this final test. What we've done is for all of the homework assignments, students get this reinforcement as they go through each question. So the final test is more like a test. They don't find out if they're right or wrong until they've submitted the test, like in a real test scenario. But for any homework practice, they get this feedback. So they get the opportunity to learn as they go through it as well. So if I just click on to the next question, I'm going to get this one wrong just to show you what that might be. So I'll pick the same answer again. And you can see here immediately, again, it's marked as incorrect. I'm told it's incorrect, but I'm also told what is the correct answer. So I'm told that part B is the crater. So I can go back and review in real time as a student. So these are similar questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip over these and just show you another question type. So we've got a variety of different question templates within all of the assignments. So this is a kind of a fill in the blanks style question. So we'll just do it together. And again, here what I want to show you is the number of marks for this question. So there's 4 marks for this question, given that there's 4 options that the student has to select. So if we just run through it, a volcano forms when magma moves to the surface of the earth through an opening called, I'm going to get this one wrong, fault. When magma reaches the surface, it is known as lava, and repeated lava flows build up around the vent to form a cone-shaped mountain. Okay, so I've selected my options. I'm going to check my answer. Okay, and here what you can see now is I've been told I haven't got the answer fully correct. I can see exactly where I've gone wrong. So this is highlighted in red to me. And again, I'm being reinforced. I'm being told what the actual correct answer is here. So I can see I should have selected vent for this one. And the other thing I want to draw attention to here is you can see now that, remember, there were 4 marks available for this question. You can see that the student has actually been awarded 3 marks. So we're rewarding them for information they do know and not penalizing them for not getting the full suite of answers correct. So let me just see, I think there's another, here's another question type. This is kind of a matching activity. So again, so an extinct volcano is a volcano that not expected to erupt in the future, so I'm going to drag that up there. And an active one is one that erupts regularly, and then I can just drag this to the last piece. Again, if I check answers, got it all correct, and I get that reinforcement again. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to scroll through these, and I'm going to submit my test assessment. So once I put in the assignment, the student will get this feedback to show how many marks that they scored in the assignment. And then once they exit out of this, I just want to show you what's happened to the assignment for the student. Okay, so you can see here that now the activity 2.1 volcano formation is now sitting underneath this marked tab. So it's moved from the due section to this marked area. And if I go back in here, you can see that the students, they have no due assignments. Similarly, you can see that the little alert has disappeared. So now that they've done it, they're not being bothered with that anymore. And what's also nice is that they can go in at any point. Any exercise that they complete will be stored here, and then go back in at any point and review their answers. So this is kind of handy if they want to go back for a revision, and it actually gives them not just the answer that they submitted, but what the correct answer is. And again, that feedback is reinforced there as well. Okay, so I'm going to jump back into a teacher account. And actually, I want to show you how the teacher can review the student's performance. But before I do that, just in case we have any language teachers on the line tonight, I'm just going to jump into our Spanish program, because one of the things that we have is, for all of our language programs, we've incorporated a huge amount of audio into this. So there's a lot of oral practice. So you can see here, just the first activity in the Spanish homework space. And I'm just going to press play.
Mi nombre se escribe J-O-R-G.
So there's audio here, which basically works with a number of different template styles. So if I just open, I didn't show you this earlier, but if you want to preview the activity as a student would see it from the teacher account, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to open that activity, and you can see here. Okay, so I can play that same audio.
Mi nombre se escribe J-O-R-G.
Okay, and here the students are basically listening to the activity, and they have to listen to the letters being spelled out and identify. I think the first one there was Jorge, so I'm going to select that one. But you can see that this is incorporated with some different question templates throughout this. This is a drop-down one here, and that's kind of quite comprehensive throughout the language programs. I'm just going to jump back out of this and go into our assignments area. Okay, so when you log back in as a teacher and you want to check how your students have done in their homework, you come to this assignments area. And on this page will basically be listed all of the assignments that you have given to your class or to your students. So this is obviously the first activity that I've assigned as this teacher. So I've only got the one here, but as you build this up, this list will get bigger, and you can always filter your assignments by your classes as well, or by the product you're using. So we can see here that this is the volcano formation activity that we just completed. You can see some key information here, what the due date is. Once that due date has passed, the text will actually go red just to highlight that it's done. And here you can see the number of students who have submitted their answers. So we can jump straight in. There's 4 out of 8. I went in earlier on just to populate this with a bit more data so that you can see what it would look like basically if you've got a few members of the class who've done it. So you have this review here. So Abdul was the kid that I was impersonating just there. So you can see got the score of 8 out of 20, but you can also just see really quickly at a glance how the other students in the class have performed. And the other handy thing you can do here is you can also see who hasn't submitted. So you can see, okay, these students haven't submitted, and you can prompt them to complete the activity. If you want to go into the detail, basically, if you're surprised by a score for a student, you can open up their actual submission and you can review exactly what answers they submitted. You can see here, I've got the first one correct and the second one incorrect, and so on. So you can see in detail exactly what they've done, but again, you're unlikely to need to do that if you're going to get the high level score at this point. One last report here that I think is quite useful on your assignments is this compare student responses. So if I open this up, you can basically see that you can see all the students who are in your class, and you can see all of the questions in this particular assignment, and you can see who got what correct and who got it incorrect. So for example here, question 2, it looks like every kid so far has got that wrong. So you know, that would flag to you that might be an area of concern and something you might want to revise that piece of particular content in class. And that is their whistle-stop tour of homework space. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Lizzie.
Fantastic, thank you very much. That was great, Ciara, thank you. It really gives a good idea of what it's like for everybody that's involved, for all the stakeholders. It's really great. So I'm hoping to have control fairly shortly to be able to share my screen. There we go. There we go. Hopefully you can see my screen now, I think. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just take you through the how homework space pricing works. So basically, homework space is an annual school subscription. And so what happens is that it's priced per student per subject, and it's €8.50 per student per subject, and that's including a VAT. And then we actually have some fantastic sort of deals available should you decide as a school to go for more than one subject. So for example, if you wanted to go for 3 subjects for students, that's €21 per student. So you can see it's starting to get more cost effective as you take on more subjects. And then the premium option is all of our subjects. So access to all 8 subjects that we have for €29.50 per student. So that starts to get really, really cost effective. If you are interested in hearing more about homework space, we actually have a homework space specialist, and that's Brian McGarvey. And he can actually arrange access to view a bank of the questions, because one of the things that we've had lots of questions about from teachers is, well, you know, before I get involved in this, I really want to see what the questions really look like. I mean, obviously Ciara's given you a good example today, and Brian can do the same. But to just in your own time have a look at the questions, Brian can arrange that for you, which is really, really helpful for people. So as I said, Brian can arrange an appointment with you or your staff, and he can take you all through homework space specific to the subjects that you're interested in, etc. So that'd be really helpful for you. So as I say, Brian's available. You can phone him on 087 050 1951, and his email's there. It's brian.mcgarvey@folens.ie. So I'll leave that there for a second to enable you to take that down. So now we're going to go into some questions and answers. So if I can get both Conor and Ciara to join me in the panel area again, that would be fantastic.
I think I'm there, am I? Can you see me?
You're here, yes, I can see you and hear you. Okay, so we've got a good few questions that people have been typing in as we've gone through the webinar, which is really fantastic. It's great that people are so engaged in this evening. So the first question that I have here, Okay, I'm just going to read them all here. So, okay, so there's one person saying, hello, I'm new to all of this, looks great, but just wondering, how do I set up classes? So that's probably one for Ciara, I'd say.
Yes. Okay. So to set up classes, what we are recommending is that you nominate someone in your school who maybe like an ICT coordinator, or who, if you're using say Google Classroom or VSware or something like that, whoever would have been responsible for setting that up. If you're just taking this on as a single teacher, don't worry, that's fine as well. But we basically think one person in the school should try and set everybody up. And we recommend that you use the students' email addresses. So if your school has school email addresses for the students, that's been what most customers have done so far.
Yeah.
We basically will send you kind of like an introductory starter pack on how to get them all set up. So yeah, it'll be kind of follow the steps, and hopefully very easy. And if you have any questions, obviously we're always here to help.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. And I think we'll probably be running some, help videos and that sort of thing as well, so that when people do come to set themselves up, that'll help them as well. Absolutely fantastic. There's a question here, and again, this is probably one for Ciara. Is if a student isn't already using an ebook from Folens or using a Folens book, how do they link up with the Hive, and how do they link up with this? Because one of the key things here is that you don't need to be using a Folens book to use Home Workspace. So obviously the person asking that question was aware of that, but was kind of going, okay, so if you're not using it, how do you get in? How does the student get in?
Yeah, so essentially that it also kind of ties back into the last question. So the school admin will essentially set up all of the users in the system.
Yeah.
So the students just get handed a username and password, and the URL for the website, and they just type that in and off they go. The teacher gets to assign the question, and as I showed, when they go in, the first thing they'll see is the first piece of homework that they have assigned to them.
Yeah. Fantastic, great stuff. Okay, so the next question I see here is, again, it's one for Ciara, sorry, Conor. The next one I see here is, can the number of questions per assignment be edited?
No, so the tests are preset, but actually maybe this is one for Conor, because we've obviously involved some very good authors in writing all of these, and so the questions actually get progressively harder as you go through as well. So they are all tied, and so one of the things that we want to do with this as well is all of the questions or all of the assignments are worth a similar number of marks. So I didn't show you tonight, but we are going to be introducing some higher overview reporting. And so for that, you need kind of consistency to really show how students are progressing across the different topics.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons we haven't allowed for editing the number of questions. One last thing I would say on that is that's why we've given that preview for teachers within the assignment area, so they can see exactly what questions are included and just make sure that they're confident and comfortable that they've covered that material with students.
Yeah. Great stuff. Did you have anything to add to that, Conor, at all? Does that cover that one?
No, I think Ciara's covered it all. As you mentioned, Ciara, like where possible within each assignment, and then with it, as the assignments progress through within a unit itself, the level of difficulty is graded, so it should become more difficult as the student progresses. And we're able to do that, I suppose, because of the strong author teams who have a lot of teaching experience behind them, and also authors. They were able to obviously to make the right calls in terms of planning and writing the questions for each unit.
Yeah, fantastic. So I have a question here, and actually this is one that's come up a couple of times, and it's probably one for Conor. So I know a few teachers are starting to use Microsoft Forms, where I think that they put in their own content into that and share it. How does Home Workspace compare with Microsoft Forms?
Well, I'd say that, I mean, in terms of functionality, it's probably quite similar. I have to say I'm not that familiar with forms and how it works, but what I would say is that there's a range of preset defined templates that we're using. There's variety in the question styles that we produce. Obviously, lots of artwork, images, and so on that appears in them. And then I suppose as well, the reporting functionality and the way that we can aggregate all the information over a period of time is also quite a powerful thing. Again, I can't say for sure definitively whether Forms doesn't do that, but I think that
I think that one of the biggest differences. Sorry, Conor. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think my understanding, one of the biggest differences is basically the volume of content that we have, which, as Ciara said, is so expertly written by our authors, and it basically saves teachers having to do it themselves. That's one of the big things. So yeah, okay, great stuff. Okay. Oh yeah, there's a question here about the devices that Homework Space can be used on. So I'm going to hand that one to Ciara. Perhaps she can explain, because people are interested to hear, which devices can it or can't it be used on, computers, laptops, tablets, etc. Tell us about that.
Okay, so basically, Homework Space is browser based, right? So you just need a web browser to access it. So you can use laptop, desktop. You can also use it on an iPad or on an Android tablet as well. It may work on smaller devices, but we wouldn't recommend it just because the display isn't, it's not as good. You could see there that we had a lot of images and things, so it'll just end up with more scrolling. But yeah, definitely the recommendation is for desktop, laptop, and iPad and Android tablets.
Lovely, great stuff, great stuff. Okay, here's another question. Can students repeat the assignments? I don't know who wants to answer that one.
Yeah, okay, so yes, they can. So as a teacher, again, what you would do is once the students have completed the assignment and you've graded it, you can actually reassign it to the class or to an individual student. If you do that, it's gonna overwrite the previous scores for that student, right? So this isn't analyzing your progress over a period of time. It's analyzing your progress over the syllabus or over the curriculum. So you will be able to reassign activities to students the second time.
Great stuff. A question came in here about, well, it was specifically a history teacher, but looking for access to see the sample of questions. So as I said earlier, what you can do is if you contact Brian, he can arrange for you to get in and have a look at the bank of questions to be able to really get a feel for those questions and see, how they're going to work for you. Because, as Conor described earlier, the way that they've been written is absolutely fantastic. It's incredible content. The volume of content is massive. It's really, really impressive. So it'll be great to get in there and have a look. So absolutely. I'm just having a look at the next questions here. Okay. Can you pay for a year group or do you have to pay for a whole school? Yeah, I mean, basically, whatever you, however many students you decide are going to be signing up to this, that can be done as an order. So it might be a year group that you do in one go, or it might be, first to third years in one go. It might be one subject for first to third year. So it's really however you want to do it. So yeah, I mean, talk to Brian about that and he'll take you through the easiest way to do that. Okay, and just one final question I have in here. Can you explain more about the student feedback functionality, Ciara?
The student feedback functionality. Okay, so could mean two things. So I'll cover them both off. So as I showed tonight, when the students, so we have homework assignments in the unit, and I think for like the example of geography had 6 homework assignments and then it had a test for the unit. So if the students are actually doing the homework assignments, what they will do is they'll get immediate feedback that's been authored by our authors, so it's already system feedback as soon as they submit an answer. So when they submit their answer, it'll be marked right or wrong, and they'll get what the correct answer should have been, right? Or they'll get that as a reinforcement. There is an option for teachers to give feedback. So because it's all auto-graded, students immediately get their score. But when you go back in to review it, if you do want to go into an individual student's submissions, you actually can comment on each question or on the test as a whole. So you actually can give feedback, and the student will be notified when they go in. They'll get a little notification, and they'll be able to just go back in and see your feedback in the test summary that I showed you. So all of those all of those assignments that they complete will remain there in that marked section of their assignments, and they'll be able to go back in and view your feedback there.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay. Oh, there's just one more question here. I think that's a question for me. Is the price for one academic year? Yes, it is. So basically, it's a subscription. It's an annual subscription. So the prices that I showed earlier, they're the price for per student per year, but it's a subscription, if you like, for the school. So basically, those would sort of roll on each year, and yeah, it's a price per year. Absolutely. Okay, I think that wraps everything up. I am going to just very quickly let you know about a webinar that we have taking place next Tuesday, the 27th of April. This is really aimed at school leaders around homework space. So if you as a teacher have been really interested this evening and you think it would be useful for perhaps your principal, your vice principal, an ICT coordinator or a digital lead in your school to hear about this as well, then do recommend that they come along to this webinar on Tuesday. We have a guest speaker, Janet Benson, coming along, and she is going to talk on, she's the learning lead and the senior researcher at Learnovate, actually, and she's going to talk about how to lighten the load of learning in general. So this is all around the digital area again. And then we'll be talking about the benefits of homework space for schools, more at a sort of a school level as opposed to a teacher level at that webinar. So if you do have contacts within your schools or colleagues within the schools that you think that would be this would be relevant to, you can get them to register in the same way as you registered at folens.ie/news and events. So that's coming up next week. And so overall, thank you so much for coming along this evening. It's really great. And such a beautiful evening to see so many of you have attended this evening. So thank you very much for that. And you will get a recording of this webinar emailed to you afterwards as well. So that's it from us, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.